Is it possible to get help with a traumatic memory that you can't even bear to think about or kind of turn the spotlight of your conscious mind onto, let alone talk about with someone? Yes, absolutely you can. If you seek an EMDR therapist, that's eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapist, who is trained in the blink technique, also known as the flash technique, then you can you can actually get some distance from that memory so that it just feels a little less overwhelming, a little less triggering of anxiety, distress, emotion, without ever having to even say what the memory is, and without having to make um, really deep or deliberate contact with the memory. So how that technique works is you would kind of just know, you and the clinician know, okay, so we're working on this memory, so what we're going to do is, write it down on a bit of paper. Just the clinician might write something like traumatic memory, and they will take it, put it in their pocket, or put it under the pot plant, put it next door, just to symbolize that the clinician, the therapist, is taking ownership of the memory, right? And the client will have found an engaging focus they can use. Some people play a video game on their phone, other people might draw something, other people might look through memories of a trip, or, watch a TV show that they really love, right? Something that really engages their focus. So engage in that, and then every so often the clinician will say blink or flash, and that means blink your eyes 3 times in quick succession. Boom, 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 right? It's actually kind of hard to do whilst maintaining focus uninterrupted on the positive, engaging focus. But that's what we're aiming to do, right? So you don't even need to mentally do anything with the memory other than just know that, okay, on some part of the back of my mind, I know that the memory is what we're trying to desensitize. And then, you watch your show, you build your stuff, you draw your picture. Every now and then, blink, 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 keep going. Clinician will say blink, blink, blink. You'll do it again. They might throw other distractions at you, like what's your favorite movie, that kind of thing. And then after a round of like 5 or 10 blinks, then we go, okay, keep focusing on the distraction, on the engaging focus. And is there anything different about that memory? Yes or no is all I want, right? So we're not asking for a high level of engagement. It's just yes or no. If you briefly make contact with it in your mind, and the person will usually say yes, and you go, okay, keep going. You get back into it, keep watching your show, drawing your picture, blink, boom, 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 blink, boom, boom, boom. It's developed by a neurologist or neuroscientist, not actually a therapist. It takes advantage of some kind of neurological research, pretty ingenious creation, but people can really reduce the vividness, severity of distress that arises with traumatic memories when they make contact with them after using the blink technique. Because after a few rounds of that, you might say, okay, so what is actually different about the memory? And I'll go, yeah, it just feels further away. It feels like it's kind of less distressing or something. And then maybe the person can talk about it if they need to, or you proceed to a higher level of EMDR intervention. And that might be, okay, now let's actively try and think of the memory, and that's now tolerable, right? Or if it's still not tolerable, you might say, picture the memory in your mind and put it on a TV screen in black and white, blurry, and put it in the corner of the room. So it's kind of there, but there's that distancing because it's on a screen and it's further away. And then the clinician will give some other kind of mental distraction, right? And it might be watch my hands move and really follow the pattern, or, playing Tetris was found to work in one research study. Or it might be tap a pattern with your hands and really try and focus whilst also holding onto the memory. And after 30-second sets, the person will say, okay, so what's coming up now? What are you noticing? And this level of EMDR intervention can not just get distancing from the memory, but also help people to change their beliefs that they've taken on from the memory. Like you might often have clients say things like, yeah, the memory feels further away, and also I'm realizing it wasn't my fault. I wasn't at fault there, Okay, great. Notice that. Let's go back in and do another 30 seconds of watching the hand move, or, playing the Tetris, whatever. And then after that, the question will be again, what are you noticing? what's happening now. And yeah, you'll often get that distancing effect. And, it can bring up a lot of emotion sometimes, so that's important to be ready for and be ready to manage. But, something about having this focus, right? Distracting certain analytical parts of the mind mean that it's harder to attack yourself and have brutal depressive thoughts or self-attacking thoughts come in. And it facilitates a really deep level of processing. It's kind of tapping into your brain's automatic healing potential that just, for whatever reason, has not been able to operate because, the memory was so traumatic or whatever. And EMDR is incredibly effective. Average treatment time for an uncomplicated PTSD is 4 sessions. So by uncomplicated, we mean, a car accident or some kind of single incident trauma like that, not prolonged complex abuse. Although that can be treated too with EMDR very effectively. It just takes longer. So can you go through a whole course of EMDR therapy without saying what the trauma is? Yeah, you can. I mean, it's shown to be effective to use a blind to clinician protocol in EMDR therapy. It might make things just a little bit harder, and there can be some benefit in letting someone know and finding out, oh, this person isn't judging me, even though I told them this thing that I have some idea that people will judge me for. But if that's not something you want to do, you can go through a whole EMDR therapy course without even telling the therapist what the trauma is.